Hi guys, my name is Brandon from Brandon Goes Traveling, and welcome to my channel. My job is to help you get out there, explore, and see the world, and really just answer any questions that you might have on your upcoming adventures. In this video, we're going to be talking about Riga and Sigulda, Latvia. So before I kick it off, I really think you probably only need a day, day and a half in Riga. It's not that big, 2 days max. But definitely worth a visit. It's a really quaint and vibrant city especially in terms of architecture wise. Definitely a lot to see. How do you actually get to Riga from the airport? There's a few ways you could do it, but I highly recommend taking the bus. It's going to be bus number 22, and it's only about €2 if you buy it from the bus driver, and I think it's a euro if you buy it from the machine. But it takes about 30 to 35 minutes to get into the main city center. And again, it's going to be that same bus that takes you back to the airport. So again, it's going to be bus number 22. So yeah, let's get started. One of the things you'll notice if you go to Riga is that there's tons of statues located throughout the city. Now, this is because Latvian people are proud. They want to show their history off and they want to show the people that really did something significant in their city. The first statue that we're looking at here on the left is actually one of the mayors of Riga. And, he was really at the forefront of building Riga up to what it is today, whether that was creating a new park or helping to design some of the road layouts and that kind of stuff. He really was at the forefront of it. And, another cool thing I thought is that dog right there. Now, this dog has nothing to do with that statue, nothing to do with the mayor. It's actually the designer of the statue. He really loved his dog and was like, "Hey, I'm making this. I want my dog to, kind of live forever in Regan society, if you will." And the photo that's on the right is, I just thought this was kind of interesting. So the story behind this guy is he's a famous artist in Riga, and he was more into painting the less finer things in society. Whether that's a brothel or people smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, that kind of stuff. But he was just more into painting maybe the darker stuff, if you will, rather than the vibrant kind of la di da part of society. So another thing that you need to check out if you're out and about in Riga is the Three Brothers buildings. Now, what's really cool about these buildings is that they were actually built by the same family, spanning over like 200 years or so. That the first building was actually built in 1490, with the last building being built in the late 1600s. And what's really cool about this is, like I said, it was just the same family built this over time. And I just find that really interesting. But yeah, this is located probably about 10 minutes from the Opera Center, and definitely within walking distance to most other tourist locations. Another building that you can't really miss is the Blackheads building in Riga, and it's absolutely massive. Now, this building was built in the 1300s. Unfortunately, during World War II, it was bombed to bits, and then they eventually rebuilt it in the 1990s. But still, what a sight to see! I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. It served as one of those like main areas that upper class people would go and hang out during that time period. But yeah, just another building to definitely check out. So going back to that architecture in Riga, it really is absolutely beautiful. And what we're looking at here is actually a staircase. I'm at the bottom of the stairwell looking up and taking this photo. And this was taken at the Art Nouveau Museum. And one of the things I really like about this is it just looks kind of trippy. Like you don't want to look at it for too long because you kind of feel like you're getting lost. But then it also doesn't really look like a staircase. But yeah, definitely worth checking it out. This was free to see, so you could just walk right in and just take a photo. Or and you could also visit the museum if that's something that you would like to do. So it's kind of sticking in that same area and maybe even prior to the museum and a little bit afterwards as well, is this kind of Nouveau style architecture. And this architecture is something that is very unique to Riga, very unique to Latvia. I don't really think there's architecture that is similar to this anywhere else in Europe because I really do think it's kind of, its own breed, if you will. But anyways, one of the things I liked about this architecture is you kind of feel like you're looking at a wedding cake and that you're walking in roads of just cake. And I don't know why I think that. I think it has something to do with maybe the white outlining of a lot of the buildings. I don't know. To me, it just kind of looks like frosting. But it's really unique, like I was saying, and really beautiful to look at. One of the things I found interesting was that one of the locals was saying that when these buildings were first built, they didn't like them. They thought they wanted them to be torn down. They were really ugly to the eye, apparently. Um, but when you're walking there, you're walking through this part of town, you're like, "Why? These are some of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen." But I think that goes to with that saying of kind of like, people's taste kind of changes over time. So maybe initially when they were built, maybe this wasn't in style, whereas today it's one of the biggest tourist attractions in all of Riga. So again, just another really famous building in that same area, the Nouveau area, just sticks right out that blue color, kind of with the wedding cake with that white outline that it has. This photo right here is actually not taken too far from the Radisson, so definitely recommend also checking out the Radisson Sky Bar because you get some nice views overlooking the whole city and may be able to snap a photo kind of in this area from up above. But again, beautiful building, definitely check it out. One of the things that was kind of interesting about this area is it's a lot quieter than the main bits of the city, and that's really because this is kind of where those upper class people would live, and they wanted it to be kind of like an escape. They wanted it to be a spot where, hey, I'm going to go home. I want to go home. I don't want to go to, a loud, bustling area. So as I said in the beginning, you probably only need a day, day and a half in Riga, but if you are going to stay there longer, one of the places I really recommend checking out is Gauja National Park, and you can get there by going to Sigulda, which is only about an hour and a half or so from Riga. And get this, it only costs a euro 89 to take an hour and a half train ride to this national park. And I just think that's amazing because I know in like places like the UK, you can take a 30-minute train ride and it could cost you like 40, 50 pounds. But anyways, one of the cool things about this park is it's, I believe, 60 kilometers big, and it is absolutely massive. You get that you get that vibe while you're going there. But it's also massive, but it's also really easy to walk around. There's not really many hills. I would say it's mostly flat. I mean, you will come into a hill every now and again, but in comparison to other locations, really easy to walk around. Really easy to navigate, especially if you download the All Trails app. And one of the cool things about this park too is it really, it wasn't crowded. Like you didn't really feel like there was a lot of people there. Could have just been because I went in the winter time. It may be different during the summer, but nevertheless, I do recommend checking this place out. So again, just walking into that national park, you'll eventually get to what's called the Devil's Cave or Devil's Chimneys. Might be Devil's Chimneys. But one of the cool things about this feature is, it was said that the devil breathed out and he burnt the color of the rock. So he made it, the reds and those blacks. Whether or not that was true, I'll leave you up to decide. But nevertheless, an absolutely beautiful sight to see. As you can see, I went during the winter time, so it kind of sticks out with that those whites in the background, but also probably still a pretty sight probably to see during the summertime. And I can imagine this area being quite busy, especially during the summer as people are walking around on the trails that are not too far from here. So not too far from Sigulda town center is the castle called Truda Castle. Now this castle was built in 1214, and it's one of the oldest castles that I've been to personally, but I really like this castle. I think one of the interesting things about it is how well it was built. From 1214 all the way to 2023, it really has withstand the test of time. And another cool thing about really the castle and this area is that you could spend all day walking around its grounds because they were absolutely massive. Unfortunately for me, I at this point in time I'd walked for about 12 kilometers or so, and I was pretty exhausted. And it was, obviously snowing, and I didn't want to walk around in the snow anymore. But I'm sure if you go during the summertime, you could spend, all day walking around the paths and trails that are there because there's quite a lot of them. So one of the things that you can also do is climb up the tower in Seguda, or sorry, in the castle, and you get a nice view of not only the castle but the surrounding national park. I really do just think it, stands out. Especially, I think I got quite lucky with because of the snow. The red brick kind of just pops in a lot of my photos. But yeah, definitely recommend checking this out. And like I said, it's only a few miles from Seguda, and I think it only costs about €3 or €5 to get inside, so pretty cheap. And yeah, so hey, that's gonna do it for this video. feel free to give me a like and subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below in the comments. I guess just to end it, I really did enjoy Latvia and Riga as a whole. I would recommend the food. One thing I noticed about the food there in Riga was it was really heavily pork based, so just be prepared for that. I'm not really sure it's the most vegetarian friendly village, but nevertheless, the food was still delicious, and definitely recommend trying the beer while you're there as well.